On the back of establishing a Saudi state in the 1920s, King Abdul Aziz utilized his sovereignty to craft an independent future for Saudi Arabia. Most of the Middle Eastern leaders at the time were busying themselves with modernizing their state's capacity. The Saudi royal family had a difficult task on their hands in this regard, considering the barren and undeveloped nature of Saudi Arabia. But they did have one great advantage that would prove to be a game changer: oil. Supplying the demand of industrialized countries, the black gold liquid transformed Saudi Arabia into a regional powerhouse that could profoundly impact global geopolitics. Most of Saudi Arabia's political and economic developments in the second half of the 20th century were tied to oil. First discovered in 1938, King Abdul Aziz had granted concessions to American companies to drill for oil and construct oil wells, hoping to put his country in a position where it could export it to Western nations who were hungry for it to serve their energy needs. In cooperation with the American company Aramco, the Saudi government was able to exploit some of the largest oil reserves in the world. By the 1950s, production had exceeded an incredible 1 million barrels per day. With the kingdom becoming almost entirely dependent on oil money, King Abdul Aziz presciently ensured that the deal would continue to sustainably serve his country's needs into the future. In the original concession with Aramco, a stipulation had been made that the American company would employ Saudi Arabs as much as possible, and it would also build schools to educate native Arabs who would later be employed by the company. This Saudi assertiveness was best exemplified by Abdul Aziz in 1950 when he pressured the American company to share its profits equally 50-50 with the Saudis, thus establishing a pattern that was followed by his successors, whereby the Saudi government tried to increase its share of revenue from the production of oil. In 1973, the government bought a 25% interest in Aramco, increasing it to 60% in 1974, and in 1980 it concluded the outright purchase of Aramco. On the political front, Saudi Arabia experienced much more turbulence. In 1953, Abdul Aziz passed away and was succeeded by his son Saud. The new king did not enjoy the trust of his entire family, some of whom worried about Saud's competence. He was known to be an extravagant spender. His government went into a deficit and even relied on foreign borrowing. All the while, Saud's powerful younger brother Faisal had established himself as a skilled politician. A rivalry ensued between the two brothers, which ultimately culminated in the deposal of Saud in favour of Faisal in 1964. All this came at a time when an Arab Cold War was brewing, pitting the traditionalist monarchies against newly established progressive republics that were inspired by the Egyptian leader Jamal Abdel Nasser. Check out the video I did recently on the Arab Cold War for more on that. The Saudi-Egyptian feud reached dangerous levels during the 1960s North Yemen civil war, as both countries backed opposing parties. Domestically, King Faisal's reign oversaw a period in which the Saudi infrastructure developed greatly with the help of American construction companies. Under Faisal, the kingdom started to flex its muscles foreign policy-wise. Even before his accession, Saudi Arabia was a founding member of OPEC, an international organization created in 1960 that consisted of the world's largest oil producers. In the aftermath of the 1973 Arab-Israeli War, the Saudi king led efforts by OPEC to proclaim an oil embargo targeting countries that had supported Israel in the war. The subsequent rise in the price of oil sent shockwaves around the globe, and allowed the Saudi economy to grow massively. Faisal would not live long enough to witness the fruits of this, as he was assassinated by his nephew in 1975. His half-brother Khalid succeeded him and sped up the rate at which the country was modernizing. The most noteworthy incident of Khalid's reign came in 1979, when Islamic extremists seized the Masjid al-Haram, the Grand Mosque of Mecca, the holiest site in Islam. Calling for the overthrow of the Saud family, the insurgents were defeated after 2 weeks as the Islamic world watched in disbelief. The event did force the Saudi royal family to slow down the pace of their social modernization policies, and instead move towards empowering the powerful and conservative ulama. Thank you guys for watching. I want to thank my patrons for always supporting. If you want to financially support Hikmah History, there's a link to my Patreon in the description to this video. Don't forget to check out my second channel on street food if you want to see delicious food being prepared. Until next time, peace!